if that happens, that Mookie Betts would become a free agent without ever playing an inning for the Dodgers, who traded for him. If you're the Dodgers, Wilbon, how do you feel about this?
Well, if you're the Dodgers, you're not happy. If you're the rest of us, you say, sorry. I mean, I'm not going to be, overly committed emotionally to what the Dodgers have going on. There's 29 other teams. Tony, I understand it. But again, in the climate that we exist in now, then everybody's got something. There's some sacrifice involved for everybody. So I'm not going to get weepy because the Dodgers don't get Mookie Betts. I will say this, too. Look, this is the strongest union of all the sports, the Major League Baseball Players Association. It is the strongest. If they sign off on something, this is what they want. They don't cave nearly as easily as the NFLPA has in past situations, or even as the NBA's Players Association has. So the baseball is the strongest. They know what they want. This extra year of service is obviously important to them, and so that's what they got.
I'll just go to the Dodgers for a second. If this happens, it will be the worst trade ever. And it's not even the Dodgers' fault because they did the right thing. If one or two of the prospects that they sent to the Red Sox has any kind of decent career, the Dodgers will just go, what did we do here? To your point about what the players got, I think the players have won here because they get the extra year of service. This is a deal. You saw this with Chris Bryant and the Cubs. I saw this with Bryce Harper and the Nationals. They kept him in the minor leagues as long as they could so they wouldn't lose this year of service. What the players have done is they've taken two in the bush. They've bet on themselves and their futures, and they're okay with this. People will say that 4% of your salary is terrible. Try telling that to people who work in department stores or the food industry when they don't have any jobs at all. But I think the players come out of this thinking this is a victory for them. And I guess I'm a little surprised that the owners went for it. But as you say, in the times in which we live, everybody wants to look at a sport as going forward together. I think this is going to make Rob Manfred want to get a season in more than ever. What do you think?
Tony, they'll want to get a season in regardless of any particular provision. But let me just mention this. Going back to the Dodgers to wrap this up. I mean, you said it's going to be the worst trade in history. Suppose the Dodgers, just as a free agent, sign Mookie Blaylock and keep him. Then it doesn't look so bad.
Well, Mookie Betts.
I'm sorry, Mookie Blaylock.
At this point.
I just had like a real senior flashback moment. Mookie Betts.
But Mookie Betts would be great. Yeah.
Mookie Betts would be better for the Dodgers than Mookie Blaylock. But so if they keep Mookie Betts, Tone, it doesn't wind up being that bad a deal for the Dodgers even, does it?
Oh, no, it's the exact deal that they want. Oh, no, they're fine. They're fine at that point.
Mookie Blaylock, that would be the worst deal ever. Mookie Blaylock. God. Man. Tony, let's go to the NFL for a second. And, of course, Roger Goodell and the memo that he sent to teams in which he says he confirms the draft will go on as scheduled April 23, 4, 5. And then he says public discussion on issues related to the draft serve no purpose and will be grounds for disciplinary action. He's talking essentially to his GMs and anybody else in the league that wants to sort of take exception to what Goodell says. How do you feel about Goodell's gag order?
Okay, so let us start with the fact that it's a good thing they're going to hold the draft. Football is in the news. This gets on television. Everybody's happy. Even you said the other day you understand why they want to hold the draft, and it's okay. So we'll put that to the side. In terms of this is crazy and thin-skinned to be threatening. There's no reason to do this. What you say in the memo is something like this. Let's all get together and put the best face on this. But you don't threaten to do it. Why does he do it? Because he rules with an iron hand. And because of all the commissioners out there, Mike, all of them, he's faced the most criticism, certainly from us. And he's thin-skinned at this point. That's what I think.
Tony, it's worse. You're right, but it's worse than that. It's heavy-handed. It's like, if Roger Goodell ever wonders why so many people feel the way they do about him, particularly in his own sport, and I'm talking about the players, this is one of those things. But as usual, Tony, he's tone deaf. He's tone deaf, it seems, almost all the time, if not all the time. You won. You got what you want. And then you have to, go bad Leroy Brown and wear your ring on everybody's nose. What is the purpose? Does anybody does Goodell have an inner circle where people say, just pipe down, Sparky. You've won. You don't have to come out as the heavy here.
So let's look at a couple of dynamics that are in play here. First of all, the owners want the draft. They almost unanimously want the draft. This is aimed, as you said, at GMs. GMs are afraid to make a pick. They say, give us more information, give us more information. They're scared of this circumstance. So what they'll do is they'll leak bad stuff about it, but they'll leak it anonymously. Mike, I don't think that there's going to be any big disciplinary action. I think that it's sort of like when commissioners say don't criticize officiating. There'll be a small
and they
fine
do it
here,
anyway.
A small fine there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to take away a draft choice. I think it'll be overblown. But you're 100% right. It makes Goodell look bad. Let us move now to LeBron James. LeBron James was on a podcast, the Road Trippin' podcast, with a couple of guys he used to play ball with. And among the things that he said on this were, once again, I don't want to play if there are no fans. We need fans. I can't imagine it. He also said that the layoff has not particularly helped his 35-year-old body. And to another point, he said, we should not go straight into the playoffs. Should have about 5 or 10 games before the playoffs. He said if you go straight into the playoffs, his word, you discredit the games that have been played already. And he wants there to be that playoff race. Wilbon, do you agree with LeBron?
Tony, not particularly. I mean, I understand why he feels that way. I do. I get it. And I'm not going to even be remotely critical of it. But it may just not be possible. Again, we're not talking about the best of all worlds in these situations whenever, sports are allowed to resume. I mean, we're talking about the worst situation, sort of setting up this circumstance. And so, no, I don't know about that. Let me go straight to the really important thing I thought in this discussion was with him talking about, I don't need a layoff. People may think the extra time helps me, but it doesn't. And I remember, I'm pretty sure, I don't have notes in front of me from 23 years ago, but talking to Michael Jordan about a similar circumstance that when you are in your mid-30s and you get yourself going, these guys are so finely tuned as athletes, and people don't realize the work they put. I think they just think they go to a Gold's Gym and work out. No, they don't. I mean, what they do to get themselves prepared in their mid and late 30s is just extraordinary, and the break doesn't help them. So I get that. That's what I would expect to hear from LeBron, having talked to other older players over the past 30 years. And so that's an interesting thing. But I don't know about the fans. And I agree with LeBron. But is that possible?
No. I mean, that's beating a dead horse. If you have to play the games without fans, we all agree that fan participation makes for rivalries, makes for excitement. But if they decide they have to do it, they have to do it. I thought it was a little bit counterintuitive. I'm interested in what you're saying about Jordan, because to me, I would have thought that this break helped. I want to get to the playoffs. At this point, Mike, the 9th team in the West is 3.5 out, and the 9th team in the East is 5.5 out. We're all sheltering in place here. You played 3/4 of the season. Go right into the playoffs. If you haven't gotten in now, you're not going to get in.
But Tony,
go right
this speaks
to the playoffs. It may last till September, Mike. It may go beyond.
I agree with you, Tony. I would just say, though, that they sort of dovetail. LeBron I'm sure he wants to play some games again to get himself going, because the layoff is not helping him at this point of his life physically. And I think it may have something to do with that as well. And there might have to be a prolonged training, a training camp of some sort. They may need 2 weeks to get themselves going. A week?
Oh, no,
I don't,
just
man.
Take advantage of it and play right now. In LeBron's case, this may be his best and last chance to get a championship. Just go. Just go. That's what people want to see. They want to wait. We're going to be waiting for sports for so long. They want to see the sports, I think.
You're old. Can you just go now, or do you need a warm-up? I need warm-up. No. I don't go.
Boom. As Dolly Parton said, tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen. Pour myself a cup of ambition. Boom, go.
Boy, I bet people didn't know they were going to get Dolly Parton wisdom today. We're going to take a break, Tony, but we're going to throw it.
Mookie Blaylock either.
No, they didn't know about Mookie Blaylock, I guarantee you. And I'm sure that Carl Ravitch and Ryan Smith are laughing their heads off at both Mookie Blaylock and Dolly Parton.
Happy time, kids. Go to the glasses and read. Happy 57th birthday, Randall Cunningham. 30 years ago, Randall Cunningham was just about the only NFL quarterback who made his living running and passing. In 1990 with the Eagles, Cunningham ran 118 times for 942 yards, an average of 8 yards a carry. He made the Pro Bowl 4 different times with the Eagles and Vikings, but he was looked at as an oddity because almost all the quarterbacks then were pocket passers. Cunningham was born too early. Imagine what he'd be like now when offensive coordinators and coaches look at Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson and they say, give me a quarterback like that, I'll score 40 points a game.
Tony, I know this makes you happy because I remember it being in the Washington Post newsroom in the early 90s, and Randall Cunningham was your favorite player in the league. You'd go crazy over him. Tony, I would say this. I remember the play against the Giants when Carl Banks thinks he has a sack and Randall goes down to like his fingers and he pushes himself up, runs right, and makes that throw. I think it was a touchdown. By the way, don't sell our friend Steve Young short when it comes to running and passing, because he, in his youth, Tony, he could do both brilliantly as well as Randall could.
But Steve Young always told us that he became a better quarterback when he stayed in the pocket and didn't have to run. If you remember, he told us that. Happy anniversary, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. On this day 28 years ago, those two actors formed an unbeatable two-man basketball team as the movie White Men Can't Jump was released. It was written and directed by Ron Shelton, who also wrote and directed Bull Durham and Tin Cup, giving him 3 of the greatest sports movies of all time. Snipes played Sidney Dean and Harrelson played Billy Hoyle. In the All-Star Dunk Contest this year, Milwaukee's Pat Connaughton channeled his inner Billy Hoyle, showing up for the contest with his hat on backwards and a pair of floral shorts, just like Woody Harrelson. Sadly, he didn't win it.
No, Tony, and he had some of his dunks, at least 2 of them, undervalued. So about a couple of weeks after that, I talked to him in Los Angeles. He'd be one of the top 3 people I'd want as 5 good minutes on PTI. Completely engaging, curious, a wonderful conversationalist. Look forward to seeing more of Pat Connaughton. I really do. And by the way, I'm going to watch that movie again. I never watched it in full again. I got nothing else to do. I may as well check it out again.
No, it's a great movie, and I know some people at PTI. We could probably get him on. Happy trails to Antonio Brown joining Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay coach Bruce Arians put his foot down and said absolutely not, no way to the notion that Brown would become a target for Brady. Arians' exact words to the Tiki and Tierney podcast were, quote, yeah, it's not going to happen. There's no room, probably not enough money, but it's not going to happen. It's